The Seven Figure Seller Summit is brought to you by Thrasio, Getida, and Ping Pong Payments.
Welcome back to the Seven Figure Seller Summit. My name is Gary Huang. Today, I'm very excited to have my friend Emma Shermer Tamir with us. How's it going, Emma?
Great, Gary. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm super excited to be here.
So, thank you for coming back and welcome. And Emma is an alumni of the Seven Figure Seller Summit. She's shared a ton of value about copywriting, how to optimize your Amazon listings. And today we're bringing her back to give you a masterclass on differentiate to dominate, how to create conversion spiking listings and build an unbeatable brand. So for those of you that don't know Emma Shermer Tamir transforms her insatiable curiosity into conversion spiking copy. And she's the co-founder of Marketing by Emma. She's helped over 700 businesses from all over the world boost their sales and build their brands, also to create best-selling Amazon listings and website copy that makes your dream clients excited to click add to cart with the Amazon team. And Emma and I, we first met about a couple years ago before the whole world changed in Hong Kong at one of the conferences. So I'm excited to be able to feature her and to help everybody watching improve their Amazon listings. So Emma, before we get started, could you quickly share your story? How did you get into this e-commerce space, with your marketing and your copywriting skill set?
Yeah, I sort of I both fell and maybe was pushed a little bit into the e-commerce space. So I have a marketing background and I've been writing my whole life. And so it was just something that I actually kind of just stumbled upon because I was good at it. So I was even doing jobs as a server and working in all different types of businesses. And as soon as my bosses discovered that I could write, then before I knew it, I was responsible for the blog or the newsletter or whatever types of things that they needed like that. And so the more that I got exposed to that, the more interested I became in marketing as a field. And then when I met my husband, who at the time wasn't my husband, Eris, who's also my business partner, he realized how unsatisfied I was working in the job that I was in when we met. And he was like, I know a lot of people. I bet they would be happy to have you write for them. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And he kept pushing and kept pushing. And finally, he was tired of waiting for me to agree and just decided to put us out there and started finding people that were interested in working with us. And so it really was his idea. And now suddenly a few years later, we've worked with hundreds of people from all over the world. And it's just incredible that we get to do what we do every day.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. And it kind of reminds me of that quote, so good they can't ignore you, right? You had that hidden skill, and even like your server gig and your boss noticed you, like, hey, okay, let's get her to update our blog. And sometimes that's what happens, right? And also
Yeah.
it's awesome that you're able to work together with your husband, Eris, husband-wife team. And I think a lot of the e-com sellers, they have the same dynamic. It could be a family or like husband-wife duo. So that's awesome. And
sorry to interrupt you. There's books like Traction and other books out there that really talk about the power in partners with a business. And I think just the same way that in romantic relationships, you sort of have the opposites attract. So the same way that we complement each other as husband and wife, we bring the same balance into business, where he has a lot of skills and interests in things that I hate and am terrible at, and vice versa.
Right.
And so I definitely think that's why it works as well as it does. Yeah.
Excellent. And I'm curious, given the timing where we are right now in early 2021, since the last time we spoke in August of 2020, I'm curious what's changed in Amazon and in e-commerce from your perspective. And maybe if you could share what's something that you learned, maybe in the last half year that surprised you that would help our audience.
That's a great question. So, as far as what has changed, I think that the speed at which people have been moving to e-commerce just exploded for better and for worse. I saw that not only were there record highs as far as sales went this past holiday season, there are now also record returns that are putting stresses on all of the same systems that were
Right.
stressed getting those orders out the door. And so there are unique challenges that come along with all of those different things. But in this space that has just had this, not necessarily that it didn't go where it was going to be going eventually, but it just has gotten there a lot faster. It requires a level of well, I guess this kind of transitions into what we'll be talking about today, but I think that branding is just more important than ever because competition is fiercer. You don't have that same opportunity to be getting out in front of your customers as you might in when the world is open. There aren't people walking around sporting your brand. There aren't those expos and just the different things that people may have relied on in the past, and of course in-store shopping as well. And so you're really forced to have all of your interactions online, but everybody is forced to have all of their interactions online. So not only is there more competition, but there are more people speaking, there are more conversations going on. And so in order to be able to grab and then hold that attention, it's much more challenging. I think whatever field you're in, whether you're selling a product or a service or really anything, it's kind of gotten flooded. And so you really need to have something worthwhile to say and know how to say it if you want to make sure that people continue to pay attention.
100%. And that's why it's so important today. And that's why we brought you on. You really have to differentiate to dominate, right? And also to build that brand. So, and also, who is this training for? Is it for like intermediate level sellers or people just starting out, or what would you say?
I would say that the people that will probably get the most value from this are those that fall into the more intermediate advanced range. However, this is something valuable for everybody to be thinking about, no matter what stage of your business you're in. So you may not see as direct of an impact if you're more in that beginner, maybe even choosing your product to sell, but having these questions in mind and these things to contemplate at that stage can help you perhaps make more thoughtful decisions so that when you are, deciding on your packaging or figuring out your logo, you can make sure that that's all married together and that it's really a cohesive story that you're telling instead of perhaps maybe scattered, jumbled together collection of ideas that don't necessarily work together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, great, Emma. So let's get into this. Would you like to share your screen?
I will go ahead and do that right now. So as Gary mentioned, I'll be talking about differentiate to dominate. So both in response to your listing specifically, but then really thinking about this concept of brand. So even beyond just Amazon, if you are wanting to expand into other channels, build those deeper relationships with your customers, these are things that you want to be contemplating in order to be able to do that effectively. So as Gary mentioned, my name's Emma Shermer-Tamir. That's my husband, Erez Tamir, sitting to the left of me, and we founded Marketing by Emma in 2016. We specialize in e-commerce copywriting, everything from Amazon listing optimization to website copy, and any of that marketing writing that's really going to help you not only convince customers that the product you're selling is the one for them, but to help establish a deeper connection and relationship so that you can hopefully generate repeat business, build that fan base, and really create a community of brand supporters. So let's imagine you're a customer for a minute. I think that this is something that businesses don't do enough time thinking about. They kind of think about their customers, but they don't necessarily think of themselves as a customer. So we're going to step back and take ourselves into the customer's mindset. And we're going to go to Amazon to search for a product. And let's say that we have a craving for popcorn. So we type in popcorn popper and you're scrolling down your search page and you see this editorial recommendations. And I don't know about you, but I look at these and I'm kind of confused. I have top pick, most durable, quick fix. Now, obviously, these are getting kind of a spotlight because they have a write-up from Buyer's Guide. But this is sort of what any search page is going to look like for really any product. You're going to see pictures where the products look nearly identical, the titles look nearly identical, and you see that even these all have very high amounts of reviews and all have 4.5 stars. The middle one is slightly lower price, but aside from the color, I'm really not left with much of anything to figure out why I should choose one or the other. And if I don't have an idea of a brand in mind, then I'm left to make a decision based on price, on reviews, or just whichever one sells the product to me the best. So I'm not given a lot to deal with, but that's not the only thing. How many of you have gone onto Amazon and you know you want something and you're like, okay, this is just going to take me 2 minutes. I need to buy a popcorn popper, or I need to buy a computer mouse, or whatever the case may be. And then before you know it, you've spent 3 hours, you've looked at a million product pages, you're totally confused, you're frustrated, you have somehow narrowed it down from 3 options to 10 options to who knows how many options. And you're like, this is too much. I'll deal with it later. Or maybe you've decided, you know what? I'll just swing by Target later and I can look at a few on the shelf. And that seems easier and less stressful. And I just don't even want to deal with that.
Emma, were you spying on me Monday afternoon? I mean, that was exactly me, you know.
This is me every time I need anything. Yeah. I mean, truly, it's one of the reasons that I actually shy away from making a lot of purchases on Amazon, because as a customer, it can be a really frustrating experience. And, you know, all of the time we have people approaching and they'll say, okay, here's the top competitor and I want to make my listing look exactly like them. So I want you to write about these 5 things just the way they've written about them in their bullets and similar pictures. And, you know, obviously we'll change it so that it's different enough so that we won't get in trouble. But like, they obviously know what they're doing. So we'll just copy them. Now, why is that a bad idea? First of all, they've already proven that they are successful following whatever strategy they're following, but they may also have 18,000 reviews. How can you compete doing the exact same strategy when they have so many more reviews? And if they have that many reviews, then they probably have a very high sales volume. And so they probably are able to get their product for, lower costs, and it's moving faster. And maybe they even have, different referral partners or influencers that are recommending their products. So they have all of this stuff figured out, and they're doing a really good job of it. And you're saying, okay, I want to go fight against the person that is, the strongest, toughest person by playing by their rules. Most likely you're going to get destroyed. You have to be, you have to think of a different strategy in order to be able to be competitive against them. Because if you're just doing exactly what they're doing, you're most likely going to dilute yourself. And then, as we just spoke about, put the customer into a position where they're confused and lost and they don't know which one to choose, because you're making it harder for them by saying, I'm going to be exactly the same. So figuring out what makes you different is so, so important. And on a site like Amazon, your brand and the branding efforts that you make may be the only things that you have to differentiate yourself. Because a silicone popcorn popper, you're not going to do anything to make it that different as far as the product itself. However, there may be unique attributes that you can speak to, or a specific audience that you can connect with that does allow you to differentiate and be competitive in a way that some of these other products aren't. And another thing that we'll see today as we're looking at some of the other listings is that just because they're the top seller doesn't mean that their listing is great. And so it actually gives you an awesome opportunity, if you can figure out how to make a really compelling sales page, to be able to be competitive against these people that may have launched 4 or 5 years ago, have enough momentum that they don't necessarily have to invest in a higher quality listing. But by writing things clearer and even using good grammar and better A+ content and all that stuff, you can really stand out as a more professional, reliable, trustworthy brand that people want to do business with. So which one do you choose? That I truly don't know. I probably just picked my favorite color of the three. Unfortunately, I like the purple, but the logo is a little bit of a turnoff. So I'm left stumped. Copying forces customers to choose based on price, reviews, superficial differences, or just to not choose at all. So that analysis paralysis, where you're left really not being able to decide between one thing or the other. It's like looking in your wardrobe and seeing a bunch of black shirts and like, which of the black shirts do I want to choose? I don't know. How am I supposed to decide? It forces you into a constant fight. All the time you hear Amazon sellers talking about, I need this new tactic, or I need to kind of go into this gray territory of whether it's TOS compliant or not, because I need to keep my edge. And if I, snooze for a second, then my competitor is going to come in and steal my placement. And so there's this constant stress and anxiety that you are carrying around because you're forced to be on edge, because your strategy has to be so intensely competitive. And not that what we're talking about means that you won't have competition at all, but it just opens up the competition so that it's about more than just who's spending the most on PPC, or who is using the latest ranking technique, or what have you. And I also just really wanted to include this cute photo of this dog into this picture. So your daily battle is going to most likely lead to lower profit margins. You're having to spend more money on PPC, on advertising. You're having to run these expensive launching and ranking campaigns. And you're just in this never-ending struggle to defend your turf. And there's also nothing that's keeping somebody else from coming in and spending more, fighting dirtier, and taking your spot. So you're never really safe, and that's not a place that you want to be, both on Amazon and off. So brand matters. We can all look at this photo, and despite the fact that the logo is not there, we know exactly what brand this is. We can see by the shape of the French fries and the colors of the box and the font that this is McDonald's. And that is a really successful job at branding. I mean, I can look at this and I can almost imagine what those French fries taste like. And not just the flavor, but the texture, the crispiness versus soft. They have engineered all of those things to create a really unique experience. And they're very intentional about every single touch point that you're going to have as a customer. And as a business owner, you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing, so that you're not, just kind of having inconsistent French fries that sometimes they're soggy and sometimes they're burned, but that every single bite is helping reinforce why it was such a good decision to drive through that drive-through and get a thing of French fries on your way home from a long day of work. And it's not just companies like McDonald's that are saying branding is important. Obviously the big companies that have been around that are recognizable for a long time, we know that they've done a really great job of branding, but how does that translate to a space like Amazon, especially when for many years, in order to be successful on Amazon, you didn't need to think about brand. You could figure out a unique product that wasn't yet super saturated, through one of those product research tools, and launch a product, and you could be pretty successful. But both because of the pandemic, as well as just the evolution of the marketplace, that strategy is not as guaranteed as it used to be. But Amazon is also giving us indications that they're thinking about branding too, and it's important to them. So here is a picture of a plus module that Amazon has been beta testing. It's called the brand story module. It's an 8th module that would go across all of your A plus content. And look at what it is: our story, how we got our start, what makes our product unique, why we love what we do. This is one way that Amazon is indicating to us that they are thinking about brand on a higher level, and that they are understanding that it is important in order to be successful moving forward. And it's kind of multi-layered for Amazon. I don't know, Gary, if you saw any of the advertisements. I don't know if it was happening outside of the US or if it was mostly just in the US during the holiday season, but all of their advertising was very much about their brand image. So Amazon seems to understand that they don't necessarily have the best reputation in society, and so their advertisements were about different initiatives they have to give back to certain organizations, and the ways that they're helping the community. And so they were really investing this year into their image as a brand, but simultaneously, in some ways, they're also starting to encourage sellers that they need to be investing in branding as well, because it's not just about how people perceive Amazon, but how people perceive the products that are sold on Amazon. And since there have been many very public stories about things like counterfeit goods and review manipulation and unsafe products, all of those things, they're really needing the sellers on Amazon to work together with Amazon in order to help build back up that trust so that people will continue to want to shop there.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Emma. I was not aware of that. I'm in Japan and I don't watch TV, so I guess I didn't see that. But it's interesting that the U.S. is definitely addressing that, because that is one of the big, downsides that people see about Amazon, with all the antitrust and all that stuff, and mistreating their workers in the FBA fulfillment centers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that even, people that don't shop on Amazon,
Yeah.
that overall they don't have the best reputation, and
Right.
yet people continue to shop there because it's the most convenient or the cheapest, or there's the most options. But as other companies like Walmart start to become more aggressive in their fight against Amazon, then it makes it so that Amazon may not be able to just rely solely on those things if they want to continue to maintain the dominance that they have moving forward into the future.
That's right. Yeah.
So what is branding? I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think that it's a concept that you hear people speak a lot about, but we may not know exactly what branding is. So I'd like to show you a little bit rather than just telling you, because branding, while it's something that is, your logo and your colors and all of those things, it's really all of the ways that your business is interacting in the world. So thinking of your brand as a person, and the way that your customer service responds to inquiries or to complaints, and the way that you engage on social media, and the way that you package your products. All of those things are working together in order to create this impression of who you are as a business, and that has a significant impact. And it's something that's happening whether you're controlling it or not. And so the more that you can do to make sure that you're controlling it, the more effective you'll be in making sure that you're steering your business in the way that you want it to go. So we have two products side by side here. On the left, probably most of you, at least in the US, I don't know how widely known Dove is outside of the US, but here in the States, Dove is probably one of the most well-known soap companies around. So we're comparing soap bars side by side, and we're comparing them next to an e-commerce company called Dr. Squatch. And right away, just by looking at their packaging, you see that they have two very different personalities. So with Dove Men Care, they're going for that much more traditional, classical, male geared marketing, and they're, kind of those masculine colors and minimal approach to what's on the packaging itself. Whereas on the right with Dr. Squatch, we have a Sasquatch smoking a pipe with bubbles coming out of it. I feel like that tells you all that you need to know about this brand. So they
say
are,
no more.
right. They're taking this idea of these very masculine things. And I would say a lot of masculine things that really have been trendy in the last few years, the facial hair and that like rugged mountain man sort of concept, and, the pipe and all of that. But they have a sense of humor, so they don't take themselves too seriously. And, selling a product like this to men is sort of an interesting piece. First of all, if men live with women, there's a good chance that the women may be buying the product. So the man has to really love the product if he's going to go to the trouble of asking the woman that's purchasing it to repurchase that product. Otherwise, like, for example, my husband, most of the time he's like, just get whatever. I don't really care. But if he likes something, he'll tell me specifically that he really likes it. But his brand loyalty is very hard to win. And so whether or not the woman is the one purchasing, because, there are plenty of single men or men that are partnered with other men, this is really trying to take a different approach to a space that is still pretty undeveloped, especially considering the beauty and self-care space as a whole. There aren't a lot of products that are geared exclusively to men, and the ones that are typically taking this traditional Dove approach, and so they're all kind of blending into this. Whereas when you see a company like Dr. Squatch, you're given a point of differentiation. You're given an opportunity to have a little giggle at a company that isn't taking itself too seriously, but also has some other features about its product that may be very interesting to customers that would relate to a product that's named in this way and that has a logo like this. So it's nourishing, handmade in the USA. It's exfoliating, organic materials. So a lot of things that seem to correlate with the type of person that would be interested in a product like this. Now let's look at the bullets. You'll see here with Dove, they're really not telling us very much. For example, in the fifth bullet, there's telling us that there are purifying micrograins and 1/4 moisturizing cream. This seems like it may be a snippet from the ingredients list. I don't know what purifying micrograins are, and I know a lot about skincare ingredients, but I just don't know what that means. I also don't know what 1/4 moisturizing cream is, if that means that it actually features some sort of lotion that's infused into the bar that's maybe extra hydrating. I don't know. They're just kind of telling me a lot of gobbledygook, patented design with unique technology developed for men's skin. What makes men's skin different than women's skin? And what is this patented design that's going to make it uniquely suited to be able to clean a man's skin? Like, I have questions here that Dove is not giving me. Like, I sort of feel like they're trying to take all this terminology that they think would really resonate with a man or somebody shopping for a man and just combining them all together in a way that, first of all, doesn't make sense. They're trying to make it sound impressive, and it doesn't. And it just doesn't really give us anything that makes you feel like this is the soap bar for you, unless you're somebody that has just likes Dove, has always used Dove, or is looking for a brand that you are familiar with. On the other hand, just as you would expect from their logo and everything else, there's some sense of humor here with the Dr. Squatch. So unleash your inner man. I think that has a little bit of sarcasm behind it. Manly soap with natural ingredients your body loves. I love the sudsification guaranteed. I think that that's cute and clever. And it's just, it's not over the top, but it has a personality. The last one, the Sasquatch recommends it for exfoliating, shaving, manly activities such as bathing in the woods. It's not taking itself too seriously. It's kind of poking fun at a lot of these traditional ideas of masculinity, but not in a mean way, not in a way that would necessarily offend anyone. But is also making something that's a rather run-of-the-mill product, a product that people would want to buy and be interested in and would remember, because it is giving you something that would stick in your mind after you look at it. Like, you may even want to tell other people about it, because it makes you smile. And how many brands are doing it? Not all that much. So this is
Emma,
just kind of what.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question? This is really good.
Yeah.
I love how you really broke down this case study, Dove versus Dr. Squash. Talking about the bullet points, it seems Amazon now, they're changing their terms of service about all caps, because you can see it on the right side. There's like all caps, unleash your inner man, etc. But there's like compliance. Like, some sellers continue to do it. Some sellers are, I don't know, some listings are getting taken down from what I hear. What's your take on this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Overall, the rules of what you can and cannot do on Amazon are always changing. Amazon surprisingly also often contradicts itself. The example they give may show one thing, and then the rules that they have written down may say something else, and then a quick start guide may say something else completely. So we always like to err on the side of caution with things like this. So I do know that it is one of the more common causes of suspensions, and it's something that can be really easily avoided. And apparently, so I've been told, it's sort of like a game of telephone. So I didn't hear it directly from the source, but I have been told that Amazon has done some testing and hasn't noticed any notable changes between how something performs with the all caps headers versus not. And so I understand their desire to kind of want to have uniformity and make sure that all listings have a similar feel to them. So we used to do the all caps headers when we understood that they began to enforce that policy a little bit more. We just decided to play it safe and not do that. So we do still offset a header from the rest of the text. If you see that, it's kind of a longer dash than normal. It's called an N dash, EN dash. And so it's kind of a middle length dash. And I do think that distinction between some sort of like topic setting header from the rest of the text can be helpful. It's just, you may not want to do the all caps as you have done in the past.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Great. Let's keep going.
Yeah. And just overall, just because you see a product and a brand on Amazon doing something, do not take that as justification that you are allowed to do it, because Amazon is really reactionary with a lot of these things. So it's not that they can comb through all of the listings and just, in a click of a button, take them down. So make sure that when you're making these kinds of decisions, you're getting your information from reputable sources, rather than just saying, oh, well, my competitor is doing this, so I'm sure I can do it, because they may not be following the rules and you could get in trouble as a result.
That's right.
So Dr. Squatch obviously has a really clear idea of who they are as a brand. I would argue that Dove doesn't totally know who they are as a brand. Their different marketing activities that they've engaged in over the last 5 to 10 years, some of them have been a little bit polarizing with people, but it almost seems like they try on different hats to see what sticks, rather than having a clear sense of who they are and then using that in order to develop a really strong relationship with their customers. So figuring out who your brand is so important. As I mentioned earlier, it may be the only thing that you have to differentiate yourself from your competitors. And so if you don't have a clear sense of this, then you're kind of going back to that analysis paralysis situation with the popcorn poppers, where you're forcing people to choose on something that you don't necessarily have the ability to be competitive on. So thinking about what message are you sending to the world, to your customers first, of course, but also to your partners and to your team. These are the types of things that are going to impact every aspect of your business. And if you have the ambitions to create a business that's going to be lasting, something maybe that somebody would want to acquire someday, something that people will be happy to work for, then all of these pieces are important, not just in order to create a really strong customer base, but to make sure that your business is one that has a clear identity and purpose and focus that people want to get behind. What makes you different? So being really clear about what your unique something is. And again, like we saw with Dr. Squatch, it may not be the soap. You could probably go on Amazon or Etsy or to any local store that sells local products and find soap made of the exact same ingredients. They haven't revolutionized the soap bar. And even the fact that they're using organic ingredients and that it's handmade in the USA, those are not unique details. You can find numerous businesses that are selling those exact same things. What's making them unique and what has allowed them to be so successful selling something in such a competitive category is because they have really invested in their branding and creating a unique perspective that connects with their customer base. So not only what makes you different, but then thinking about how you can create a consistent and cohesive message so that you're not giving this kind of, wink and a nod to masculinity on Amazon, but then your Facebook page is full of a bunch of really stereotypical masculine images that has really kind of copy pasted text beneath it. So you want to make sure that if you are taking that kind of bold leap with your branding, that you're going there all the way with everything so that the insert that's in your product is aligned with that, and your packaging and all of those different things are working together to help build on that story and to deepen the relationship. Figuring out why people should choose you. So again, with the soap, people are not choosing that soap because of the price. People are not choosing that soap because of the scent. People are choosing that soap because of the brand, because it speaks to them on a personal level. And then thinking about how can you really control the message. So it gives you this ownership that you may not have if you don't figure this out. So it can be a really empowering position to be in, where you don't even have to spend as much time worried about your competitors because you have a really clear sense of where you want to go. And so you're able to make decisions and strategize in a way that is pushing yourself forward rather than just thinking about, all of the people around you and what they're doing. It's a really quick and easy way to waste a lot of time to sort of keep yourself stuck in place and to potentially block yourself from the growth that you could have otherwise. So building trust is another thing that good, effective branding can do. And on Amazon, it's all going to tie back to your listing first and foremost, because if you can't convince customers that your product is what it says it is, that your business is going to help fix a problem if something goes wrong, then people are going to be less likely to want to purchase from you. So here's a product that I would argue requires a pretty high level of trust. It is a hidden spy camera that is disguised as a USB charger. So this is something that people are bringing into their private spaces. They're bringing it into their home, and they are relying on it to monitor their house, most likely when they're not there, whether they have a babysitter or a house sitter, or they're just going out of town and they want to keep an eye on things. Maybe they have kids and they don't want them to have parties when they're away. Whatever the case it is, they need this product to work because they're not going to be able to be there to fix it if it's not working. But also, they're allowing the company that has the technology that's recording this and then sending it to the app so that they can look at it. They're allowing that company access into their home. So they're giving them very private information that, you know, you may not immediately think about that when you're shopping for a product like this, but you want to make sure that the company that has an eyeball into your house is a company that you trust and that you feel good about. So yes, having the clever logo and the fun language can be really effective, but you want to make sure that you're also presenting yourself as a trustworthy, reliable company that's professional, that takes what you do seriously. So if we're looking at this listing, all the underlines are things that are either poorly worded, grammatical errors, just strange, weird, missing information. And as you can see, there are a lot of red underlines there. So this listing is very poorly written. I mean, it's just weird. Such a brilliant design. It's like, who's saying that? Why? First of all, what's the purpose of writing something like that in the first bullet? But also, how is that contributing to your sense of confidence that this is the product for you? And in fact, if it is a brilliant design, then you shouldn't need to tell people that, because they should be able to intuit that from themselves based on all the other information that you're giving them. So truly not well written, and their A+ is kind of a problem in the other direction. You look at their A+, and they actually have some nice looking images. It's just they don't have any text that goes along with it. All they provide is a really short list of a few of the features of the product, and then a bunch of, the user manual, a reset needle, very vague information here. So they have a picture that's showing that it seems like they have an app, but they're not telling me whether they have an app. They're not telling me how the app functions. They're not telling me how this device records, what triggers it to record, how long does it record? Is it something that even if it's not recording, I can go into the app and just automatically look at what's happening in the room, even if motion didn't set it off? Are there certain storage capacities? Does it actually function as a charger? If so, how, what? I mean, there are just lots of basic functional questions that this is leaving me wondering about, not even to mention that next level of why is Hanbu the go-to when it comes to home surveillance and security? What is it about this company that I should feel really good and entrust my surveillance needs to versus, a company that I already know that I probably have a greater sense of baseline level trust just because I'm familiar with them. Maybe I've heard commercials for them, or they sell other products that you see all over the place. Like, at our home, we have a Ring doorbell. So that is a very well-known home surveillance company that also has more, in-home types of camera things that you can use. So if they're competing against them, they're obviously not going to be able to compete on recognition. And so what is it about this company that's different that would make me feel more comfortable shopping with them versus going with a company that I already know and trust? So in the same way that Amazon creates this incredible opportunity for smaller brands that may not have that level of recognition as the ones that you would traditionally see in, a retail environment, It also means that you have to be much more thoughtful about how you're presenting yourself because you are needing to be competitive against these really big guys. I mean, as you see with Dove, they don't always do a good job. So that's a perfect case of when they're not doing a good job. So the opportunity is even higher to be able to swoop in and be really competitive with them. But when they do have their marketing together, how can you still have a fighting chance? And you have to make sure that you have all of those levels figured out, not just the clever branding, but also making sure that you are being really thoughtful about every single thing that you're putting on your product page and that you're not leaving anything to chance. Yes, some people still do read, and you want to make sure that those that do read can find the information that they want and need to know in order to be able to purchase your product. So establish a trusting relationship, be clear and committed to whatever it is that you are standing for, be consistent with your messaging, have impeccable grammar and spelling, run it through something like Grammarly, have other people read it out loud, look at it a few times. This is your salesperson that is on your, out there representing you and your product 24/7 all the time, and you want to make sure that you're making the very best impression that you possibly can. Avoid exaggerated claims. I think especially people that don't necessarily have a lot of experience doing marketing writing can fall into this trap of wanting to be really over the top with everything that they say. Lots of exclamation points, lots of capital letters, lots of, it's the best and greatest and most innovative. We even saw that with Dove. They're using like this innovative design specifically for men's skin. And you can see how ineffective that actually is and how it actually works against them by using that kind of language, because it fills you more with doubt than it does with curiosity. You don't see that and think like, oh, it's innovative. You see that and you think, they're just trying to sell me this product at any cost. They're how innovative can you truly be with the shape of a soap bar? So you want to make sure that when you are choosing the words that you're going to be using to represent your product and your brand, that you are helping to set expectations in a way that when people get your product, they are going to, at the very least, get what they thought they were getting and maybe even get more than what they thought they were getting. But there are a lot of times, especially on Amazon, when the expectations that are set through the language is very different than what you actually get. Even just you see this product and it looks so perfect, and then it arrives in like a plastic poly bag and doesn't even have a box, and there's no brand name on it, and it's so cheap, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to take this out of the bag because I know that this is not going to perform in the way they were telling me. I'm going to send it back to Amazon. So yeah, maybe you made that sale, but you didn't make a lasting sale. You made a sale that quickly turned into a return. So you want to make sure that the right people are buying your product. And that also involves being clear about who shouldn't buy your product. So, in extreme cases, there's obviously people that maybe, they have allergies to certain ingredients, or it's too advanced of a product for somebody that's a beginner. But maybe there are also people that just have certain requirements out of a product, and your product doesn't meet those needs. What would you rather do? Try to manipulate them into thinking that it's right for them and then them having a bad experience, or being honest, helping to, avoid those sales that won't be lasting, and then have avoid the potential negative review. And you also help to build a little bit more customer trust with the people that don't end up buying, because they don't feel like they're being taken. They don't feel like you're trying to just push them to buy, but that you really want to match them with the product that's going to be best suited for them. So always beware of trendy marketing tactics, make sure that they also fit your business and what you're after. So not every business is going to find success by doing Pinterest marketing or being on Instagram or Facebook. Every single business has a unique customer base and will have things that will naturally be better suited to who they are trying to sell to. And so you want to be thoughtful about all of those things and make sure, just like everything else that we were talking about, that it is aligned with the business that you are trying to create and the people that you're trying to sell to. Be bold. So you have this idea of who you are, you know how to write everything in a way that's going to make you sound professional. Now it's time to take a little bit of a chance and really put yourself out there in a way that may feel a little bit scary. We started this off talking about how tempting it is to want to copy what the top competitors are doing. And that's a very safe space to stay in, but it's also really going to hold you back from the true potential that you may have as a business. But in order to really get to that place, you're going to have to potentially take some risks that will feel scary because it's putting yourself out there in a way that other people aren't necessarily doing. And it may even be putting yourself out there in a way that some people will be turned off by. Even with Dr. Squatch, there are some people that are going to look at that and feel like, ugh, like this is, it is definitely appealing more to the millennial crowd, I would say. So that means that there are some people that are going to see that and say, this is not the product for me. This is obviously meant for a younger audience or an older audience, or, I see myself more as the person that's into X, Y, and Z. And so this just doesn't really vibe with me, but that's okay. You don't need everybody to be your customer. And in fact, trying to make everybody your customer will just dilute your message and again, hold you back from really being able to go where you're wanting to go. So a good example of this, they're actually not a brand on Amazon, but they're a company called Allbirds. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with them or not, but Allbirds is a sustainable shoe company. They've now expanded their range. I think they sell maybe some shirts and underwear and things like that as well. But they started out selling shoes, and they did something incredibly bold for Black Friday this year. So obviously Black Friday is known for their crazy deals and sales. Well, rather than doing a big sale and cutting their prices, Allbirds decided that for Black Friday, they were going to raise their prices by $1, and then they were going to match that dollar and donate it to, some organization that's helping with climate change issues. So this is something that is going to probably not vibe with everybody. There are some people that are going to see this and say, really, seriously, you're raising your prices on Black Friday? You're passing up on this opportunity to make all these sales? And it's not really about the $1 price raise. They're actually saying something much more than this with raising their prices. They're really kind of saying, hey, we are not going for the let's buy a bunch of garbage that we don't need around the holidays just to buy stuff. We want the things that you buy to be intentional choices. So they're really kind of taking a stand against more traditional mainstream consumerism with this. And so it's really interesting. And I would recommend maybe you go and take a look at their social media pages to find their posts about this, because you'll see that there are some people that are like, man, that's not cool. Why are you raising your prices by $1? It's been a hard year. Why not give us a sale? And then there are all these other people that are chiming in that are saying, you don't get it. Like, that's not the point. First of all, they donated a ton of product to frontline workers, and they've done all of these things. So, it's not that it's been an easy year for them either, but they're doing something really cool by taking this kind of stand. And by the way, they don't ever discount their products. I've never seen a sale. So they've made that choice, sort of similar to something like Apple, where their price is just their price. And that honestly works really well for a lot of companies, because if you're always running a sale, I mean, I'm not a pricing expert, but if you're always running a sale, then you're going to train people to wait for a sale to purchase. Whereas with Allbirds, I have Allbirds. I've been a fan of them for a few years. I know that if I want a new pair, I'm just going to buy them, because if I'm holding out for a sale, I'll be waiting for many years to come. So I'm sure that this was a decision that before they chose to launch this, there was a lot of internal conversation, and probably some people that thought that it wasn't a great idea and that it may ruffle some feathers and anger them. But I think it was such a smart move on their part, and really aligns with who they are and who they present themselves to be as a brand. And while this may have turned some people off that were maybe more fans because they liked the design, or they saw, people that they admire wearing them, and so they wanted to wear them also, the people that are truly supporters of this brand, this gave them an opportunity to be even more excited by what they're doing. But it took some risk to do that. It wasn't just first of all, it's a very creative idea, but it also is potentially kind of creating some enemies that is not the natural choice for most businesses to make.
Emma, just a reminder, we have about 5 minutes left. So you can plan ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So don't blend, be different. Understand your brand, figure out what makes you special, and then make that really clear from the get-go. So whether it's Dr. Squatch or Allbirds, that you're really helping to create this clear understanding of who you are and helping people get excited about what it is that you're doing. So you can fight that choice paralysis, like what we were talking about at the beginning, and then really building a brand, not just a business. So investing the time and thought into making really deliberate choices and investing in yourself so that you can be confident enough to make some of these choices can have a hugely positive impact on where you go with your business. And so the last little thing that we'll finish off with are benefits. So I feel like I would be remiss if I don't mention this in any presentation that I'm giving. It's so important. When we look at a product like this is a dog coat. And first of all, this listing is just an absolute mess for so many different reasons. We don't really have the time to go into why it's a mess. But I think this is a perfect example to really contemplate what a benefit is and how they could do a better job of selling this garment, which, by the way, it's #1 dog cold weather coats in that category. So they're doing really well with a really terrible listing. So if somebody wants to sell doggy attire, I think there's real opportunity here. But when you think about buying a product like this, probably the first thing that comes to your mind, the benefit is that it keeps your dog warm. And I would argue that that's not the full benefit of the product. That is more of a function of the product. So yes, it keeps the dog warm, but why does it really matter that you're keeping the dog warm? It may be because you want to keep the dog healthy. Maybe it's really skinny and has short hair, and so it's not good for it if you have to take it outside in really cold temperatures. But maybe it's also because it helps you, the dog owner, stay healthy, because you want to go on walks and you want to be able to be outside with your dog. And if your dog is ready to turn around after 2 minutes, then you're not going to be able to get your walk in, and maybe you feel guilty when you don't go walking with your dog. So there's actually a deeper benefit there that's about the health and wellness of the owner and the dog, that if you were to present that in a way that's more, this doesn't really speak to those things at all, but if you were to engage around a topic like that with your listing, you create an opportunity to connect with your customers around something and to make it more than just about the coat itself. And it's not that people don't know those things when they are looking for a product like this, but by helping to make that connection and make that immediate kind of light bulb go off, you're helping make it easier and connecting the dots, especially considering that they're probably looking at a bunch of other product pages and they have a lot of other things going on and their phones are going off and they have, YouTube videos to watch and all these different things competing for their attention. And so the clearer you can be about why your product is so fantastic to solve this particular problem, the better job you'll do at making a convincing case for why people should buy from you. So build excitement to buy. Think about who your customers are. What do they care about? What gets them excited? find the benefit by asking, why does this matter? And don't be satisfied with your first answer. So like with the dog coat, if you just say, oh, it's because we want to keep the dogs warm, then that's not the full benefit. And you may be missing out on that deeper level connection than if you were to continue asking why and get down to that more emotional motivator behind the reasoning of why somebody would want to purchase a product like this. And then use your features to support your claims. So if you know, help paint the picture of how you can still get outside and enjoy time with your dog even during the frigid winter weather, through the downy filling and windproof polyester. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're helping to reinforce the benefits. So you're not just saying something empty, but you're really giving substance to the claims that you're making. So think about, sort of as a parting idea for you to contemplate, what could you achieve if you didn't have to put all of your resources into going head to head with your competitors? So rather than just thinking about, you know, all of these other popcorn poppers and how can you outmaneuver them, what would happen if you could really start to forge your own path and have something distinctive and unique that is beyond just having the number one selling popcorn popper? What could you leverage that into as far as expanding your product category, or as far as growing your customer base, or starting to expand into other areas beyond Amazon? There is so much potential there. But if you're having to put all of your time and all of your resources into fighting off your competitors, then you're not going to be able to really do all of those other things that you may want to be doing. These may be some of the things, whether it's being more creative, whether it's having more money, whether it's getting outside and growing. I use the tree as kind of a metaphor for growth, but you know, just imagining all of those things that you could do if you're not kind of just trying to keep your head above water. I have a free worksheet with a bunch of questions that you can use to start to dig into this if you're feeling a little bit lost and you don't know what questions to be asking to start to figure out what you can use to differentiate yourself and where you fit into the category and the space that you're selling in. If you want to go to marketingbyemma.com/Gary21, or you can open up the camera on your phone and scan that QR code. That will take you there as well. And like I said, that just has a bunch of questions to get you started, but don't allow those questions to be the stopping point. Use those as really a jumping off point to start to engage with these questions and to continue to engage with them over time, so that you are controlling where you want to go, but also that you're making sure that the choices that you made a year ago are still in line with who you are and where your business is today. The world's always changing. We're always changing. And so it's not that those choices that you made 2 years ago are still relevant to who you are and who you are as a business today. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. Our website, email, phone number, Facebook, we're kind of all of those places. I'm always happy to answer questions, talk about this stuff. I love nerding out on these topics, and that's all she wrote.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma. A super valuable session today. And just very quickly, thanks also for sharing ways to connect. So definitely check out Marketing by Emma. And we'll also have the links below the video. And we also appreciate your special bonus offer for the All Access Pass holders. So if you guys have not upgraded yet, Emma has prepared 2 bonuses. One is a free video analysis. So, you know, she and her team will be able to offer you an analysis of that. And
yeah, I'm actually going to be doing those. So wow. I will record a video. I will be looking at your listing, and I may say some things that you don't want to hear, but I'll give you an honest rundown of things that you may want to consider doing to make your listing better. Excellent.
And then secondly, Emma also is offering a coupon for 2 for 2 free photo text with any listing optimization purchase. So check out the All Access Pass members area and upgrade if you haven't already. So definitely check that out. Okay, I had a couple of quick questions. I know we're almost out of time. Number one is, what are some of the common mistakes, Emma, you're seeing that sellers make as they're trying to optimize these listings and trying to build their brand?
So I think one of the most common mistakes that I see is something that I already spoke about a lot today, which is trying to model themselves after the top competitors without really giving a lot of thought to, first of all, if that makes sense for their business, but also if those are who they're wanting to use as models. So a lot of times the top listings in any particular category are not necessarily the strongest listings, because they're products that they've been able to generate enough reviews over time, and so they're just kind of a mainstay of that particular category, and so they may not have to work as hard when it comes to the quality of their listing. So I would say that is a huge mistake. I would say another mistake is this. It's particularly true for people that really start off selling on Amazon. So less of the traditional business that's looking to expand into Amazon, but people that start off in Amazon, they tend to be really sort of, I'm trying to figure out the right word. There's this kind of, I think it's coming from a place of wanting to control everything. And so it's this idea that if I just follow this rule, and this rule, then I will succeed. And I have to do that. And if I don't, then this is terrible and the world's going to end. And I think it's, so this keyword has to be in exactly this spot. And if it's not there, then I'm not going to. Yes, keywords are important. Yes, doing certain things are going to help you. But even just thinking about the Amazon algorithm, it is far more sophisticated than what I think a lot of people give it credit for. So it's not just factoring in whether you have a keyword in your listing. They're looking at all sorts of metrics, everything from how well you're converting on that keyword to your seller health account and return rate. So Amazon wants to make sales, and they want to make sales that are going to stick. So there is more to it than just using the keyword, and there is and so I think that that's it's one of those things that a lot of people feel more comfortable with. And so as a result, they kind of want to believe that there's just this formula, do this equals amazing success. And it's not so simple. And making sure that you're really thoughtful about not just appealing to the Amazon rules, but being clear about your customers and making sure that you are making a persuasive case for why your product is the very best for the customer is so important if you're actually going to make the sale.
Perfect. All right. And then last question, if we apply the 80-20 rule to everything you covered today, what would be your number one recommendation to our sellers if they want to spike their conversions and build their brand?
I would say figure out what makes you different. So really being clear about what is it that is unique to your business that nobody else does. And like I said, it doesn't have to be the product. It can be, it can even be something that may not seem directly related to your business at all, but it is part of who you are and maybe something that you can incorporate in. And because it's coming from an authentic place, it doesn't feel forced or weird. And when you combine that together, it can be a really powerful tool that you can use to differentiate yourself, that you can use to be competitive, that you can use to attract a fan base and a community. And so it just has such a huge scope of influence if you can figure that out.
Perfect. All right. Emma, thank you so much. This has been an awesome training. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else did too. So thank you again for coming on. And Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you at the next session. Bye, everyone, and I'll see you, Emma.
Bye. Thank you, Gary.
The Seven Figure Sellers Summit is brought to you by Thrasio. Digital consumer goods company Thrasio is the largest global acquirer of Amazon FBA brands. By acquiring nearly 100 top-rated brands and managing the scale of more than 10,000 category-leading products, Thrasio's brands are more profitable, grow faster, and outperform almost every other seller on Amazon. Brought to you by Getida. Getida is a technology company that is empowering the e-commerce industry by helping Amazon sellers recover the maximum FBA reimbursements that they are eligible to receive. Established in 2015 and an authorized provider on the Amazon Seller Central App Store, Getida utilizes the most advanced technologies to audit and discover FBA discrepancies to ensure the maximum recovery on all types of available FBA claims. Brought to you by Ping Pong Payments. More than 750,000 online sellers rely on Ping Pong to simplify their global payments and keep more of their hard-earned profits. We process more than $15 billion in cross-border payments for e-commerce and transfer more than $100 million a day for international e-commerce sellers supporting marketplaces all over the world.